applying to trine Venus, Mercury has ingressed into Virgo. And so we have Mercury Regulus, so let's just call on the spirit of Regulus, because we're gonna have this Mercury retrograde in Virgo and in Leo. So we're gonna call on the Lord of Fame, the Lord of Glory, the Lord of Visibility, and the Lord of being acknowledged, appreciated. It's gonna be useful for this time. So Mercury is going to go retrograde August 5 in 4 degrees Virgo. Then it's going to go direct August 29 in 21 degrees Leo. This means we have short retrogression period, but you want to understand what is this Mercury retrograde ruling. Because Mercury will be ruling over, it will be ruling over Gemini. Okay, so it's going to be ruling over Mars and Jupiter squaring Saturn, which is an episode in itself. But we can't talk about Mars and Jupiter squaring Saturn without talking about the fact that it's going to be ruled by a Mercury that's going to be in its retrograde phase. And that's going to make it even more interesting, because there's a lot to do and redo when it comes to the reality check of whatever Jupiter is doing there in Gemini. Okay, the Lord of Philosophy meets an engineer, and Mars. That Mars in Gemini is a lot about playfulness, playful sports, but some of the sports is sharpboards, and it can be a little bit of business finessing, okay? So expansion, business finessing, being playful with expenditure, but acting big. Although Gemini rules small steps, the conjoining with Jupiter, okay? This is a giant leap somewhere, but with Saturn it could be a giant leap backwards. So Saturn is there to check Jupiter, Mars, and Saturn is in itself retrograde. So Saturn will be checking up. What are you guys doing over there with the children? What are you guys doing over there with the trade? What are you guys doing over there with your laws or with your litigations? Okay, what are you guys doing over there? And that will have necessary reality check to where we have gone overboard, overstepped something that we can materialize, and Saturn is kind of like, hey, you're gonna need to refine this. This is not in compliance with that. This is not in compliance with that. And again, both are going to have a say. But this is ruled by Mercury retrograde, which means we're gonna have to do it over, which means we're setting ourselves to recheck that when Saturn goes direct, and when Mercury goes direct, and for the entire synodic cycle of Jupiter and Mars. With Jupiter, it's continuation of something like at least 9 years that we're talking about, that we might still be dealing with those placed. Okay, and so normally this is where astrologers would say be cautious. But this is Mars in Gemini. It's very fast. It's speeding up. Jupiter is about expansion. And, there are just some things that are going to have implications. It doesn't mean that you don't have to try, or that you don't have to make these steps. And it doesn't mean that it will not be successful. Mars is still going to go over Aldebaran before it conjuncts Jupiter, and Aldebaran is associated with Archangel Michael, with mint essential oil, but also with Pyrrhus winning. And so, because Mercury retrograde is notorious for having X's and O's come back, be very mindful when you try to win, or when you think of relations as a game of winners and losers. Okay? Like, this is where, unless you're like very kinky and it somehow has a C, this is where you set yourself up in a certain way that it almost is very difficult for it not to backfire, for not to be a Pyrrhus win. Okay? And you know, if it is Mars rules, you know, the penis and sex and so on, the genitals and the blood stain and the levels of iron in the body. So you want to you don't want to set yourself up there. Okay, you don't want to, and it's not always conscious. But when you notice, you cognitively think about relationships or sexuality as winners and losers. This is where you might be setting yourself up for a Saturn cycle, which is 28 years, and again, you know, with Saturn in Pisces, you're going to have chances to repent, to this, to that. But why not work on this ahead of time? Why not think about a new way to see relations in a way that actually allows you to enjoy relations? On the other hand, there is also the Ksenia Moore teaching on Mars, the old Ksenia Moore teaching on Mars, which is kind of like, hey, also women have to do their Mars if they want an equal relationship. A happy relationship means you set boundaries, means you allow yourself to get angry, okay? And you set your boundaries so the other person knows who they're dealing with, and you are also more wise because you are doing the Mars in your life. And that allows for the other person to also be Venusian with you and for you to switch roles and have happier relationships. This is an old Ksenia Moore teaching for Mars in the charts of women who seek a man or in general. So Mercury is going to be ruling over that bunch. Aside of that, okay, we're going to bring it all together later. This is just the compartments, okay? So aside of that, Mercury, upon Venus ingress to Virgo, which is going to happen, I'm gonna wait. Yes, I'll open the door. Come here. So Venus is August. Okay. Venus is going to ingress into Virgo on August 5th. So it's exactly a day after the retrogration beginning, which immediately tells me that as of this, Mercury will be ruling anything Venus related. And so Venus is in detriment in Virgo, okay? This is not a sign where she's comfortable with. Virgo is a sign of service to others. Venus is all about drawing in sensual pleasure, being receptive, the receiver of gifts. Okay, it's also about loving and giving, but it's not so much about being of service to others. Definitely not in an informational or kind of doing errands kind of way. You know, the Virgo in your life will tell you what specific herb you need for this specific problem, or the Virgo in your life kind of will fix things that are mechanically gone wrong. Okay, this is what the Virgo in your life can do. It will give you good information as per your situation. It will give you the right book to read or the right line in the book that is relevant for your situation. Okay, those are great attributes of the Virgo in your life. The Virgo in your life, it might not be lovey-dovey at first, but it can definitely adapt to that. And so it's not intensively Venusian. Okay, it's the acts of service. It's very romantic if you're a person of the word, but it's the act of service that is going to assist you in your well-being, in your health, and so on. Venus here, you think about Virgo as the person who would clean your house or clean your room or clean your bathroom or I don't know, do the jobs that are painstaking so that you will be able to be more comfortable in your life. But the Venus in Virgo, it doesn't really rest. Okay? The Venus in Virgo, it doesn't really rest. And so this is where the kind of the love language can suffer a bit, because you don't really get to enjoy your time doing nothing the way she would do in Taurus, or like going to galleries, or just for leisure, okay, not to buy or auction something, but just for leisure as Venus does, okay? Or switching up your hair, switching up your nails. I got a colleague that is packed with Libra. Okay, shout out to Caitlin Urban and Catherine Urban. Yeah, there's another Caitlin that she's, packed with Libra, but also Venus Virgo that's doing Sphere and Sandry. But she's always changing up the color of her hair, and she owns a hair salon. And so this is a very Venus Libra. Venus Virgo is different in that sense, but it is going to pay attention to details. The risk we're running is to seeing the trees and not the forest with Venus Virgo, okay? So this is where our entire Mercury retrograde is going to rule over anything relational and joyous and sensual, but from a very detail-oriented type of place. Okay, it can definitely be taken to wonderful places. It's just that Venus is not natural in this location. This tells me that Mercury retrograde also rules over Ketu and Lilith in Libra. So all the purging of feminist rage we have, or the reconnecting with ancient feminist rage, depending on where in the scales we were. Okay, if we were the kind of a person that doesn't run into feminist rage, whether you, regardless of your gender, okay, doesn't run into the woman who would not be subdued, or maybe you are a Libra man and you're used to women who would kind of like be finessed or something like, or try to finesse you, and then you run into a Lilith. So at this time you could be running into a Lilith. Okay, but the Ketu would just mean that your relationship with running into Lilith have changed, and now you're running into a Lilith, and you're like, what's that? Bro, what's that? Okay, you don't know how to behave with that. Or alternatively, you've been surrounded with all kinds of like raging feminists, and you run into almost completely the opposite. With women, it can mean that if you were devoid of feminist rage, it was like, what is all this thing? I just live my life, and there's such people, then you could, for example, start on a new job or a new contract, or meet some new people in your life, or somehow, and then you run into, or maybe you start, with Mercury, you could do something on television, on media, writing, and if it's beauty related, and then you can run into, like, I don't know, Satanists who were taught that women should be slaves, and you're like, ooh, what's that, bro? You mean that like in kink? No, not kink. No, you actually think that? Oh my God. Okay. So this is where you could suddenly receive feminist rage. Or alternatively, if you've been the type of woman that always has to be angry to get what she wants, you could suddenly be rid of that, and you're like, oh, now I found a person that gets me. I found a person that understands that. So this is how the Libra, Ketu, Lilith is going to play out. We are still not in the October eclipse that's going to be the really conjuncting Lilith. So we're still not there, but this Mercury retrograde does rule over your Lilith purges and relations as well. And so what you thought about Lilith is going to change towards this eclipse, and then the eclipse is going to change what you thought about Lilith as well. So this Mercury retrograde is not final as per Libra and as per relationships, which we would expect it to be, in a sense that Mercury goes direct, retrograde, direct, and then we're either breaking up or we're committing, and that is not the case. Okay. Sorry to break it down for you. I'm the realist astrologer. Okay, I'm going to tell you it is what it is, and this is not the case, because there's eclipse with Lilith. Okay, there's eclipse with Lilith, there's eclipse with Ketu still in Libra. It's not the end of the story, but it's definitely going to readjust our values and agreements and commitments and commitment styles. Now let's go to the other sign that Venus rules, which is Taurus. And in Taurus, Venus rules over Uranus. This kind of playing back and forth with Beta Persei, capital Go, Medusa Gorgon. So if Lilith annoys you or terrifies you, then imagine the grand goddess Medusa, which is both sensual, wealth, a beauty, and abundance, but also when enraged, the head of Satan. So she turn you into a stone, okay? She'll do that magic back at you, and you try to talk sense to her. She's like, well, you're doing things that interfere with my livelihood, my lifeful energy, my sexual energy, my this, my that. You're dead, okay? So that is pretty much where it's at. And Uranus kind of makes it even lighter, okay? Let's do mass death magic, okay? Because Uranus is kind of like for all humanity planet. So if the main significations of Venus is bodies upon bodies or tremendous wealth, Uranus is kind of let's add some more electricity to the mix. So it's kind of like, hey, mass that to those who do jail experiments with electric shocks and so that's Uranus. Uranus is surprising, is revivifying. It's also the planet of divorces, astrology, terror, explosions, explosives. And so with this Venus in Virgo, ruled by this Mercury retrograde, all things Urano and Goal Beta Persei are also going through rechecking, rewording, rephrasing. Okay, you want to think about the Gemini likely telling you, could you rephrase that, please? Can you have another way of saying that, or you try to say that again, and you just like say that again in more extreme, because it's a Goal Beta Persei, and it's Beta Persei and Uranus. And Uranus does not like to. Lilith does not like to be subdued. Medusa doesn't know what subduing is. It's the thing where the bodies upon bodies, you mean, or that came before? The thing that comes before the when I do bodies upon bodies. That, oh, yes, doesn't work. Backfires. And Uranus, of course, doesn't have it in the lexicon. Oh, that's the things that pushes me 180 from where I was heading. So, yeah, oh, yes, that thing that tell me to do something, expectations. No, I don't know that. I do the opposite. So this is where this Mercury retrograde is going to reign over the unreignable, and we're going to have to rethink our eurekas. So it's very likely to have, oh my God, I found the answer, and then Mercury goes retrograde, and there's like, that seemed like a good idea a couple of weeks ago, and then Mercury goes direct, and it's like, I just needed to add that, and that's okay. Okay? And that might be, I don't know, exploding. Give me something to explode. Give me something to explode is exactly what Uranus is thinking about. But it can also be astrology. Okay? It can also be astrology, the way we do astrology of Algol, what we think about astrology of Algol, we chronic all these things that we consider, reconsider, have eurekas about, and need to maybe rephrase things or rethink them, or we're going to see another aspect of that. Uranus also rules divorces. So I was given the collective reading for August, and I had kind of like that Uranus coming up. Mercury retrograde over Uranus, you might be rethinking divorce, and but this is the funny thing. When Mercury retrograde, everybody wants to have a relationship reading because it brings X's and O's. Okay? That being said, I'd love to make some money. I mean, if you want to give me money and have a reading, like with Uranus, it's exciting relationship, I'm not going to suffer. But the thing is, I have to say, as an astrologer, we are within eclipses on Mars and Venus. We are before another eclipse on Mars and Venus. We are before eclipses that are going to Ketu this Mercury. So whatever we decide of, even upon Mercury direct, is going to be Ketu, it's going to be purged. Okay? and it's fucking Mercury retrograde. Okay, so I don't think that would be correct for you to have an accurate reading because your astrologer is as confused as you are. Okay, I want to give you a tip that this is Nicola Stoyanovich would give to people. He would look at the natal chart with the house division of Placidus, and he would look where Uranus is. And whenever a client would call him, he would take a look at what that house, where that sign, what is ruled, and so on. He would say, "Oh, you come to ask me about your marriage." And the other person is like, "How did you know that?" "Well, your Uranus is in your seventh house, Placidus." "I'm astrologer. Uranus rules the astrologer in your life. I'm the astrologer in your life," and it would work like magic. So that being said, even great giant names, like Nikola himself, had people that were like, "Oh my God, just come to them all the time," and so on. And then if you get it in the wrong time, in the wrong place, then perhaps you won't be. And so this is where I have to be honest with you as relational astrologer, because I'm almost tempted, like, "Hey, I want to have your Uranus. Like, give me your Uranus relationships. I want to know, like, what your affairs, your this, your that. Come on," because it's not about the affairs, not about the yellow. It's about Uranus bringing us to another place in our life where we're supposed to create something. Maybe you are becoming an astrologer. Maybe you're supposed to do art, a creative project. Maybe, for example, I had a composite with Petra de Vries with Mercury trine Uranus, and I ended up doing water expand upon cooling. And before that, it was like me, cold cases, but that, what for me and that, and so on and so forth. And then it just happened. And then when I looked at it, the astrology of it, I'm like, oh my God, this is such a great remedy for when Uranus was crossing my 22-degree Mars in opposition on my lot of spirit, 22-degree Taurus. And that was the correct remedy. And more things came about. Okay, so this is how a Uranus composite, even if not like sexual or romantic relationship, can give you for the it just happened. And so allow things to flow is the great. And I want you, if this is your consideration, okay, to leave a relationship, not to leave a relationship, I want you to listen to my collective reading, which is going to be posted tomorrow. Because that's going to give you a bigger idea of the yes and no, okay? There are eclipses. So, sure, I'm tempted to say, "Oh, come for me for a reading. It's going to be interesting." Because I'm excited to see what is it that you're embarking into. However, because it is eclipse time, it's going to be happening anyway. What would be more smart to do is perhaps to contact me regarding the eclipses in your chart and where they are leading you to. I won't be able to tell you yes or no for this relationship because it's not a good time for that. But we might be able to discuss Uranus and Uranus transits at large for you for the upcoming season or eclipses. And that can be possible. Again, with all things Uranus, okay, I can't really, commit. It's Uranus, okay? It's like, you can contact me. I have my email, madetolovemagic1@gmail.com. You can contact me. If we find a good time to do it, it's okay. If not, then not. But anyway, things are going to happen in fated way. Okay? So this Mercury retrograde, it rules over a lot. It's going to be very, very packed with many things that you have to do and redo and do and redo, and you still have eclipse coming up. Okay, you have two eclipses, one in September, one in October. One is going to be a lunar eclipse in Pisces with the sun in Virgo, not too far from Al-Qaeda, and on my ascendant descendant. And one of them, okay, and that's the same Virgo that's ruled by Mercury, which is going to be, okay, this Mercury retrograde. So it can really be a kind of situation where by the time that Mercury is direct and out of its shade period, you really believe that you got this, but you don't. Okay? And so if one takeaway from this episode is very likely that everything that you're going to decide upon right now is not the end of the story. There's more to do with that. And so if you are signing contract, now this is a time, this is unfortunate because this is a time of the season where a lot of students or people get to renew their contracts on their houses and so on, or in their jobs or something like that. This is kind of like not a really good time to do so. So you want to be creating a lot of leverage, whether you are renting to someone, we have tenants, or whether you are the tenant. You want to be very flexible upon allowing the contract to end. Okay, both parties want to be very flexible upon that, which is going to be annoying because this entire Mercury retrograde is going to rule over this Mars, which is with real estate, and so that is something you want to consider. If you're thinking to buy a house, by all means, like this is a big decision, by all means wait, okay? If it's fated purchase, it's fated purchase. You can do divination, but by all means, if right now is a purchase for you to buy a house or to sell a house, if you're selling real estate right now, if you have a choice, wait, okay? If you have a choice, I can't stress this any further, wait. If you are making big moves with like your life insurance or anything like that, I would really, really suggest you to allow for things to change. Don't bind yourself too far. Don't break things that you're binded to too far. If it's going to happen, it's going to happen. It's going to be fated. But I would really make big, giant moves that are going to endure, like real estate purchase or something like that. And if you're renewing a contract, just be aware, whichever side of the contract you're going to be very flexible. If you're starting to date someone, this might be appropriate because even though Mercury is retrograde, we are in the shade of eclipses, and you might meet the person that you're supposed to have maybe not the rest of your life with, but unless you have natal Mercury retrograde, I don't know, but some sort of an interaction. So what you want to be very open to is flexible commitment style, okay? Flexible commitment style, and flexible approach about whether it's the contract, whether it's marriage, whether it's, don't adjoin your finance. If you're doing business, okay, how when you get to know a new business partner, really don't adjoin everything. Allow for both people to break the contract with more ease than you would perhaps at other times. This is in the shade of eclipses. This is ruling over, first of all, we got Neptune retrograde, we got Pluto retrograde, and Jupiter is ruling over Saturn retrograde, is ruling over Pluto retrograde. So we got a lot going in the sky that is in the face of rethinking things and not in the face of acting and moving forward. So anything contracty, okay, business deals, real estate, prenuptials, not a good time. Don't sign on any such thing. But also divorce papers, because Uranus rules divorce, and this Mercury retrograde is ruling, okay, because it's ruling Venus, it's ruling over this. And so with Lilith Ketu, it really is a desire to shed off, kind of like a snake shedding its own skin. So a lot of you are gonna want to go out of constraints. Now, if that's not enough, we're gonna be having this Mercury going over and squaring Uranus back and forth, which means money's going to fly out of the pocket, okay? And we're going to have, we're going to have Venus squaring Uranus, which means that some of you are going to want to break free, and whether it's by you met someone and you finally fell in love outside your marriage. Finally, it doesn't sound so well. But this is the time with the hard aspect. It's a very manifesting aspect. It's a crisis. It's very notorious for bringing affairs of that it just happened, especially if you were the type of person that would have a rigid way of thinking about relations. Okay? This is so notorious for that. It's so notorious for that. Uranus is notorious for changing with Uranus Venus square, switching up your values, switching up your appearance, switching up your currency, okay, the digital coins and stuff like that. What's your approach? I want to do this, I want to do that, okay, having eurekas around things, but also kind of attractions where you meet the person, it just happened, and then just right out of the blue, it can just happen the other way around. So, but when it just happened hits, it's electrifying. Okay, it is something that you didn't expect. You don't understand what you find in this person, and you just got like, you're just like shocked from the entire experience. But you're also uplifted. You're also revived, rejuvenated. Okay, there's something liberating about this person that can downright annoy you at times of how free they are, and even contradict with your values. And Venus in Leo is very much the royal, the kind of like the royal romance, the out in the open, wearing your heart on your sleeve, but also it's a fixed sign. So you want to very likely have a marriage or a long-term commitment where you show you're flamboyant about your affections and stuff like that. And then this Urano-Algol Taurus meets you, and if it doesn't turn you into stone, and you're like, okay, but what about you? But why don't you respect yourself? But why don't you this? But why don't you that? Oh, wait, I'm just still trying to find a sex that I'm willingly consenting and enjoying. And that just happened. I don't think about the conditions. I wasn't looking for a fair. I wasn't looking for anything like that. And with Beta per se, it can absolutely be just what I said. And so both of you could be going out of a certain period, but that can yield a certain change in the way you walk, the way you talk, the what you do, the how you do it. And it's so exciting. And this is an affair you're going to remember very likely favorably. Okay, you might not stay with that person forever, but it's very likely something you're going to be thinking about eventually with a smile. This is why I would suggest you to not sign divorce papers yet, because it's going to look like this is the time to do it. Okay, and this is where Mercury can bring in an ex that you're like, I don't think so, I don't this, I don't that, and rekindle the fire, especially if you met on a Uranus hard aspect to Venus. Uranus, Venus, I love them. I think it's better in the trine and the sextile than the square. It's not impossible in the square, but it's not so good for when you want to rely on the attraction, because sometimes you're going to be head over heels, and sometimes you can feel detached and even rejection, not attracted. So this is something that is not easy to reconcile, and it can cause a lot of like drama, where sometimes your partner is like overly attracted to you, like out of the world attracted to you, and sometimes, hello, Gita Shabbos, Shabbat Shalom. And sometimes they're absolutely like they find you repulsive. So this is something I wouldn't suggest to commit on, but it's absolutely something that when it happens, you're gonna feel it. It just happened. Very, very difficult to resist, especially if you're trying to break out of a certain bondage or certain limiting, certain rigorous thoughts that are always in your head before you got into a rigorous situation or rigorous conditions or rigorous commitments, okay? And this can be both if you're monogamous or not monogamous, okay? You could be the type of person that's absolutely like open relationship, open this, open that. Then somebody, you meet them and you're like, oh, maybe I could commit with this person. And it can fuck off everybody's mind because because it can really be a kind of a bummer. But with the hard aspect, Uranus, unless there are other significations, you're very likely for it to be more serial monogamy than actual monogamy. And with the hard aspect also, if you are monogamous, this could be a time where you're just going to have to flexion up your commitment style rather than break up the connection, marriage or not. Okay? Uranus is wherever there is a frame, a rigid, a serious rule, okay, a hard no in your life, it's going to go against that, okay? And this is an energy. It does so to liberate you from this rigid thinking, okay? And it's less patient as, Pluto, that is going to take the time to assess of what to do and then, okay, make the move that it's well thought, or Neptune that operates on kind of like a more mystic level, more spiritual level. Uranus is kind of like, today I'm here, tomorrow I'm there. So those are the things that this Mercury retrograde is going to rule. And of course, when it's going to be in Leo, it's going to be ruling over the Sun. So we're going to be having kind of the Leo part of your chart being moved and being ruled by this. So you're going to be thinking your shine, your status, your relation to fame. And this is a Mercury that's going to emphasize on a sense of liberation. You might even think about your gender expression. It can go so much so, okay, with Uranus Venus, but it can also simply mean that you are rethinking your relation to visibility, to fame, to being seen, to being appreciated, how much that means in your life. And this is where you're going to be rephrasing your branding. You're going to be maybe investing in something that would make you more. You're going to be trying new things with that, which is great. Okay? You're also going to lose your rigidity around how you see fame, especially if I combine the things. If you see fame as a game of winners and losers, okay, so there's a lot of competition in many fields, but if you see fame as a game of winners and losers, okay, we bring in this Mars, this Mercury, you think about journalism, or you think about beauty industry, or modeling, or if it's in front of cameras, or filmmaking, and stuff like that, then you're going to be really rethinking things. If you see it as a game of winners and losers, you might find yourself in a Pyrrhus winning, or losing, of course, yes, but you might find yourself in a Pyrrhus winning, which means that you want, like you won the battle, you lost the war, okay? And this is where you really want to be conscious of that and set intention. With Uranus, setting intention is a great thing, that just about in a eureka kind of a way, you're gonna go out of your own pattern in this sense, of the winner-losers, and that can really revivify your relationships, and it can really, and even if you have kind of like a Pyrrhus win, there is an eclipse coming. So even if you make a mistake, it's not the end of the world. Okay, you're gonna have eclipse coming, you're gonna have things, there's gonna be more chance for things to go your way. There's gonna be fated purchase around Lilith. Yes, so it's a lot happening, but there's a calling for you to be a little lighter with yourself and not take things so seriously. But it's not from the gaslighting point of view. It's that there genuinely is going to be something that ignites your fire in a way that allows you to not take things so seriously, or to not take everything as kind of like damage to your ego, because with the sun, ego is very strong, and you're gonna have sun in Leo, which is very powerful, very strong, and in the best sense of the way. Okay, you deserve to be seen, you deserve to be appreciated, and you deserve to heal your relationship with being a star. Okay, the star of the show. And then the sun is going to go into Virgo, which is kind of the sign of the journalist, the author, the chemist, the herbalist, and even to some degree the astrologer, because Mercury is kind of that alchemy, or the tarot reader. And so you want to, and she's going to go over Regulus. So you want to heal your relationships with fame and creativity when it comes to the sun, and you want to rethink contracts, because if you're signing contracts, we are the talent, and if you sign certain contracts, it could, you know what, it can also be business, because Mercury is ruling business. Yes. I was just thinking about something, and you might rethink things. You know, if you're a business person, I'm going to make it a general comment. Okay, had basically comment to someone around this, but you know that they're changing up the coins, they're changing up the this, they're changing up the talents, and if you are tied into some sort of like satanic issue where you have to do this or you have to do that, or they try to make you enslaved by that, know that if they go by the way they go, you're expandable. With the way they go, you're expandable, and they're going to switch you up whenever they want to switch you up. And so perhaps it is time to manifest or set intention for better conditions for yourself to be the talent. For if you have entrepreneurship, if you have trade business, especially people who try to have trading platforms or astrological trading platforms. I know fellow astrologers like Maren Altman that had astrology trading platforms or have astrology trading platforms. So this is where you want to think. He's also making music, so that's like very relevant. There's also Virgo. Okay. Not giving a reading to callings online, but you, especially if you're doing like trading platforms or astrology and trading platforms, you want to keep in mind that what people try to tie you up in all kinds of Mephisto contracts, then they see you as expandable. They are not going to stand to their word. And Mercury also rules the cunning, the lying, and those type of things. And so if people ask you to make human sacrifice, if people ask you to sacrifice things that are immoral, to commit offenses, know that they're not going to stand to their word, and no amount of extortion is going to make them reliable. Okay? And this is where you have to really, really understand all the people around you, and you are expandable to the people that do these things. And so it's really like a death cult. But this is an ample time to begin to rethink that. Okay, whichever talent you are, because it's true to all peoples, even if you're not in the satanic cult, anyway, they can try to change the coin, to change the this, to change the platform, here shadow bans, here algorithms. The shadow bans is not just X. Shadow bans is also the algorithms. It's also YouTube. It's also Facebook, also Meta, Instagram, and so on, TikTok. So people trying to change things up where people get all expanded. This is a time where you can manifest to break free from such contracts, to make something more liable, so that when you have an initiation, it will be more true to you and what you want to do with it, rather than some big agenda and what they want to make of your idea. Okay, especially if you're doing like journalism related stuff, but not only, or law again, but all of these Mercury professions, even filmmaking, you're going to be rethinking the issues. Okay, and again, you can call on Aldebaran when Mars is applying to Aldebaran as Archangel Michael, and use mint essential oil at this time. Okay, so to increase your awareness, to fight your battles, yes, to set yourself free from slavery, from constraint. And it doesn't matter for which status or which field you're coming from in this situation. So you're not bound to something that, and it may help you to understand that the contract that is not of the light has no validity. A contract that is not of the light has no validity. So this is also, if you're the type of person who's even whistleblower, if you came out of the cult, or try to come up the cult, and so on, and you say, oh, I have to keep my contracts in the light and in the dark, because so and so and so and so, know that what you have standing for you is, and I take it from the Imagination podcast and the testimonials, and this is what the court of the heavens. Okay, for the court of the heavens, where you say, I do not consent, you understand that you have that standing in your favor, and the contracts that you were forced into signing, or contracts that you signed that are not of the light, they don't have validity, because the other side would betray you too. As they see fit, they would expand, they would off with your head as they see fit. Okay, it's not that you have trust there, that you have any, okay? And so these contracts are not of the light. You can call on Archangel Michael, you can call on, when Mars is applying to Aldebaran, to break free from these contracts, for them to not have effect of your life, for you to not be chased, or not be death threat. Call on Beto per se. Okay, and of course you're the sovereign in your life. You know more than me what is it about. I'm not here to try to get you to do things that would risk your life, but just know that in the court of heaven, any contract you sign that is not of the light has no validity. You are not obligated to any such contract that is not of the light. You're not obligated to keep your word outside of the light. You may choose to do so, but you're not obligated to do so. Okay? This is something that is highly important. You can call on Archangel Michael to release you from extortion, and for better per se, to protect your truth, and psychic attacks and all this kind of physical attacks and torture and stuff like that that are done to people, electrocution that are done to people. And again, it's, you are the warrior, you know yourself better than me, your situation better than me. But this is also something I would like to emphasize. As I'm speaking, I'm thinking about this when it comes to contracts, when it comes to success in entrepreneurship, in business, in anything of the media, juristic, herbalism, astrology, okay? And even to some degree music industry, because of Venus, although Venus is kind of not at her best place in there, but it can be the type of, I think about Jaguar Wright and her cruelty-free artistry project. So that can be something, a time where she can promote that, and the media is associated with that. So there's a lot going for this Mercury retrograde and direct. It is very packed. Mercury is strong in Virgo, which means that the retrograde is going to really tend to the details. The Mercury retrograde is not so lovey-dovey. It just says what needs to be said. And think about it. Sidereally, Virgo is a fire sign. This is Leo. So the power of the word here is very strong. Social media, okay, the Mercury retrograde is the great block. Everybody blocks everybody this, everybody, but people are going to switch up styles. Might even have removal of certain shadow bands, or attempting to instill new ones. Like, we expect the unexpected with this. And so this is a time where you also don't want to burn bridges because of a word. You might be, with the Uranus thing, tempted to do that. So yes, don't sign divorce papers just yet, nor do you sign marriage papers. Any big long-term deals that you can postpone to after the shade period, but here to after the eclipses, with Mars to after the eclipses, postpone. It's not the time to sell your house that belonged to your family for 100 years. But if it's small contracts, then leave room for navigation. Just leave more room for the conditions to change, and where you're flexible, this is where you're gonna win the war rather than just win the battle. Okay, and rethink your winning and losing paradigms when they come to work, when they come to business. Okay, you don't win a deal, you win a deal, or you both lose. Just like you don't win a war, you win a war, or you both lose. And anything that's not that is on the line of Hitler. Okay, it's kind of like the perpetual war that's not really serving anyone on the long run, and everybody is expendable. If you think you're gonna make money by continuing war, you're very likely to be expanded very quickly. If people like, there are people who've been told that there were going to be centurions, like that they're going to be like Kissinger, and it's like, not necessarily. Okay, don't think that you can trust on the word just because you made this human sacrifice or betrayed this person. You had to betray people to get to your rank. What makes you think that you can trust anybody? If you have to betray someone to get there, and again, I don't mean about the type of betrayal. If I have to let somebody down because I given a word it's not true to who I really am, this is just a part of life. But if you had to betray someone, to lie someone, to commit a crime to get there, know for sure that nobody is going to have trust. That you cannot respect what the other person says, no matter what you have on them, because you're judges. Okay, and the same thing that allowed for crime to be is now actually not allowing for a crime to be, and you see that in various ways. Okay, this is how the pyramid collapses into itself. It's a non-linear dynamic system where the system of betrayals actually collapses into itself. And people begin to understand that whatever contract they signed that is not of the light is not valid in the court of heaven, and is not they're not obligated to. Okay, because they signed a contract with people who betray, and they were asked to betray to reach the point where they signed the contract, and so this contract is invalid to begin with. Okay. So yeah, that's the situation. This is the Mercury retrograde. What's Mercury going to do around this retrograde? We have some more batteries, so why not? So what's this Mercury is going to do? It's going to, the sextile with Neptune is not with the retrograde yet. July 8th is going to sextile Jupiter, which squares Uranus by this time, I believe. Squares Uranus, squares Saturn. And at this time, oh, because I'm looking at the 8th of July. I need to go to August. Back. So, August 8th, Mercury is going to conjunct Venus. Okay, which is retrograde. So Mercury is retrograding, conjuncting Venus. August 18 is where Mercury squares Uranus, which happens in Leo. So this is the Mercury, the first meeting. Okay, we have Mercury retrograde. We actually had this is actually the second, because we had Mercury direct squaring Uranus, where touched on some wounds without intending to. So imagine for the situation, because Mercury is also bridging between people. Okay, so instead of bridging, you touched on this wound of that person, and then the next comment you touched on that wound of that person, and now they both hate you. So that can be. But with Mercury retrograde, you want to pay attention to what you did when Mercury was direct, because this is something you're going to touch on when Mercury is retrograde. You might have a chance to fix this, or might think you have a chance to fix this, but you actually might do it again because it's a square and it's Uranus. So you're not done with pissing people off. And it's going to conjunct the sun while doing that. So the sun is going to square Uranus as well, which means that somebody's shine is going to piss off somebody's rebel. So it's like kind of like your inner rebel, or somebody might think they're a big rebel, and then comes the sun and it's like irritated by that, or people are going to rebel the monarchy, the leadership, the performers, the leaders. Um, so this is where I predict for some more scandals to be exposed, because humans have still not left our goal domain. So some more Jaguar rights can pop up around this. I've already heard, I'm half Dutch, I've already heard people calling Ali B. Oh my God. Just, I hit the spot. Okay, somebody, I heard people calling Ali B in Netherlands the Dutch Puff Daddy. And you know it's not sexual harassment when they compare to Puff Daddy. And I, no, 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 no. Oh my God, no. Oh God, no. Oh God, no. Okay. Anyway, this is where you're gonna touch on that again. There's singers, okay, because Venus is in Mercury sign. Um, I said the devil's advocate when Jupiter entered Gemini. And then it's going to do it again. So, but before that, it's going to trine Chiron on August 23, which is very blessed because we need that healing. And it's going to sextile Mars on August 24. What 22-degree Mars. So this is giving water expands upon cooling. But it's going to be very, oh my God, and Jupiter on the 18 degree, what's like drugging kids, filming them. It's the snuff film with kids. It's giving them ink. It's giving them ink. And Saturn retrograde, okay. But on 17 degrees, it's like, okay. And so, yeah, me just trying to do an astrology episode that's not related to anything, water expands upon cooling, and ending up. Oops, I did it again. So yeah, that's the story for Mercury. It's going to, let's just go to September, because September it's going to touch on the other square, okay, the final square with the final square with Uranus. Me being curious, but also wanting to kind of like run and hide. Me trying to not make troubles and kind of like withdrawing away, but it's kind of like a tsunami. So Mercury square Uranus. If y'all not aware, the alibi was represented by the contour that is belonging to the De Vries family. So this one hits home. Okay, this one is too close to home. So and this is Mercury is going to be direct on 27, and Uranus is going to be retrograde this time. So Uranus, when does Uranus go retrograde? This is September 1. September 1 is going to be retrograde. So if that's not enough, then by the time that Mercury is kind of like, I'm getting out of shady, Uranus is like, the hell you are. So, and it's giving Beta per se vibes. So, oh my God. Okay, let me just take a look at that Mercury again. 8 degrees battery. Oh my God. Yeah. And you know the funny thing that Ali B was Moroccan, and then he got kind of like the verdict, and then he flew to Morocco, so he deported himself to Morocco. And yeah, so that is very funny because they try to think all to deport all the Berber Moroccans and kind of like from Netherlands and so on. So that is very funny. Um, so the final touch is going to be on September 7th. I'm sorry. I know it's Ali B now. I know it's Ali B. At least now I know what it's going to be about. Okay. Ali B meets water expandable and cooling. Okay. So, okay, that's fine. And this is you want to think about where were you? Let's take it. Let's take it back to the stage. Let's take it back to July, where Mercury squared Uranus. I can go like this. You can think about yourself. You think about one person sitting here, one person sitting there. You and this person, these two people fighting with each other. You can say to this person that you pissed off. You said, but no, but I pissed that other person off too. But you could say to that other, but I pissed that other person off too. Okay, I pissed everyone off equally. So somebody in the sky watching this and eating popcorn. Um, so the first touch was on 26 degree, and this was July 22 or 21, depending on where you are. You want to think, where were you at July 22, 21? Because these are the hits on Uranus, and the hits on Uranus, there are hits and there are misses. And it's either a very big hit or a very big miss. But this one is, pay attention to that. Okay? This is something that's going to be repeating itself as Mercury is retrograde. So this is what you've been doing in the shade. And I'm going to go over that. But the sun is going to be conjuncting. And this is, let's take a look at the dates, okay? And August 18 is where this shit happens again with the sun. Okay? And then September 7th, okay, I cannot forget this date, okay? September 7th, 7, it's going to pop up again. And so, okay. 7-on-7 Deming, 7-on-7 Deming, snuff film, 7-on-7, 7-on-7 snuff film Deming. Okay, so just reiterating that. And so Hans is still in Spain. Abolish the Spanish Inquisition. So this is where the final touch, okay, is September 7, and Uranus is going to go back retrograde, which will take some time because Uranus will reach the 26th degree. And you know what? If we are already talking about this, let's begin to see where Uranus reaches the 26th degree. I just want to kind of know the date. That some things in life just happen. I don't know. It's like I have to say, you know. Okay. So why am I seeing this on September 24? Oh, first of all, September 24, Mercury is going to trine. September 24, Mercury is going to trine that Uranus. Okay? So let's just postpone every, you know, I can't say bury the hatchet because it's Uranus, but let's just keep in mind that Mercury is going to trine this bitch. And Mercury is going to trine this bitch, and we have some time, okay? From Al Qaeda, Beseder, but it's going to still trine that point, so it's not going to be square forever. And this is also where, okay, it's not going to be square forever. It's kind of like we're not going to be squared forever. If we're going to refine on this conflict, we're going to find a resolution. Like, what about, bringing Netherlands back to Netherlands Hans, and but this is what I've been wondering, because before I heard about Ali B deporting himself to Morocco, I was almost thinking in one of the better per se blinking. I was thinking about, well, I think that all these people that commit offenses in Netherlands that are Moroccan, and hey, the Supreme Court is a bit worse, but it's still bad, okay? Then I think, like, if they send them to Morocco, I think the Moroccans will, like, hang them or something. It's maybe not allowed in Morocco, and so our all culture argument might fall in that, but that's something I was just thinking about. Maybe this gave Morocco because of that. And I was like, oh, Netherlands used to be tolerant for sex offenders and human traffickers, but it's suddenly not. And I'll mind my words when Hans will be back in Netherlands with his Dutch citizenship, safe and free, with his wife and all the victims and so on. But yes. And so, light a candle for Peter. Um, so now we are going to see, when is this Uranus heading? Yes, it's close. It's close. It's getting there. September 26th. I have 2 people to celebrate birthday on that day. So September 26th, Uranus is going to hit that 26th degree, which is going to spend a couple of time there. So this is where you're also going to touch on what you have been dealing with since July 18th, July 22, August 18th, and September 7th. So September 26th, it's going to be another touch with Sun and Mercury releasing from the trine to Uranus, and this is right on Algol, okay? And this is where, it's kind of like, if we jump into this September 26th, you need to understand the times that we are in, and the times that we are in, they're taking it from the cult. So they're taking it from the secret societies, the purges from the secret societies. No argument such as, you know what, I need to do an episode about Ali B, because yeah, I don't know if we have his chart. It would be interesting, because this is a person that was doing kind of like, sex offenders. But if it's the Dutch puff, that is very likely been extorted by satanic cult to do that, or else, okay? And then he was judged, and he was trialed, and he was found guilty. And so, unlike what usually happened, and then Khalid Castle, which was the lawyer, tried to subdue the woman who testified against him in ways that are quasi-ethical, and he might even be stepping out of a TV show that he's been performing in because of that. And then they also, for other reasons, bridged in, okay, severed the ties with where he was, with the cantor, but he was working while the freeze, of course. And so that's how I know it. And so, okay. But the thing is that there are many people who try to argue for, like, yeah, because Ali B is a Moroccan person, he's litigated, but people that are of higher class, like the Supreme Court, are not litigated, and Deming was not Moroccan. But Deming also is also extorted because he was Supreme Court judge, and this was the highest place in the juristic pyramid, that is the visible one. And he had to do constant snuff film with girls, electrocuting, raping them, and so on. And the driver, the taxi driver, they did it in the car, and the taxi driver that testified was murdered, and so on and so forth. And the journalist, Peter, that had to defend him was the same journalist that tried to go against the judges that put the wrong people for murder of children when he was young, and they took a child, Petr Chiort, and raped, murdered, tortured him, kidnapped him with the symbolism, and the name was Peter, and they told this Peter, okay, come look at this cold case, and this was the murder from Purmerend. So there's a lot of intricacy there, and Mercury hasn't even yet, okay? There's a lot of intricacy there to this topic, and so it's both kind of like, oh, the class war arguments, but essentially it's the cult. And it's the fact that when you are extorted by the cult, you have to rape this, you have to this, you have to vouch for this, you have to vouch for that, then essentially you're going to be betrayed, you're going to be expanded. Okay? And so, Peter is no longer with us. Yes? It's not just because of Tachi, who knew the family. Okay, let's like who put the state witness request for Peter, because they knew that he would help the state witness, and so this ties up so many things, and so this is the Uranus that is going to tend to things. It's already in the perfecting bisextile with Pluto. Pluto here is in Capricorn, so we're going to be accessing the secret societies that control the pyramid. And the fact that all people of all ranks are expandable, but also the crimes that they had to do. Okay, snuff with children. And snuff is rape and murder and torture of children and women. Okay? And so for the crowd that sees sexual harassment, because when they're so used to do these things, they are not even thinking like human beings, like not like robots, because when you program robots to think well, they think well. But you program them to think not well. And this is a part of satanic ritual abuse that both the Supreme Court judges, certain journalists, politicians, okay, the Lars Rutte, Lars Wilders, D. Elon, D. Trump, okay, and all that. Like, anybody not triggered? Anybody not triggered yet? Okay, is there anybody that is not triggered yet? Say your name, I'll trigger you. So I feel like that's going to be, alibi is just one case. And of course, this to Peter and the legacy of Peter. And this is why it says come close to home, okay? I'm half Dutch. And so, but they're going to be more like that. Okay, that there are going to be more Puff Daddies coming out, perhaps J-Set, I'm not sure. I know some things are already out, but it's going to be continuing on. Beta per se is going to play a huge role, and it's Venus, so Aladdin's Venus, but it's also the head of Satan, and so this is where we're going to be progressing in understanding the depths of intricacies of expandable children, but how it pertains to our entertainment, to our media, and to the many things that we will be exposed to that are going to shatter our thinking about literally everyone, okay? I am used to certain things with me too. The fact that I say, oh, this name and this name, oh, I like this person, oh, my beloved this, oh, my beloved that, it doesn't mean that I don't know of what the ranking is, and I don't know that they are the expandable children grown, and it doesn't mean if they're not living, or even living, okay, that they've not somehow to some level of degree made it very understandable or even told me these things. And so for me, I was just being patient for the things to come out. and for allowing the things to come out. And of course, I believe the victims. Um, and of course, I understand that when people speak up, it is to heal and to recover. It's not coming from blackmail or to dim anybody's shine or anything of that sort. Is to change the reality of expandable children and to for us to be able to make a life while making a living, whether we authors, whether we journalists, whether we singers, musicians, performers, leaders, and so on and so forth, in a way that is compatible, good for our heart, good for our well-being, which is where we come with all that creativity, is from our heart chakra, from our heart being open. So yes, battery running out. I'll see you in next episode. Right now, I'm going to release this is yes, Mars hour. So of course, hour of controversy. And Mars is not doing very much, sextiling round. So, yes. Thank you for watching.